Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. And today, a lot of fun, good read, a lot of law enforcement takeaways. Really excited about today, so let's get started. We did finish Psalms, and we're in 1 Kings chapter 1 and chapter 2 up to verse 12. And then we jump over into 2 Samuel and read 23, 1 through 7. 1 Kings chapter 1. David's getting old. He's getting tired. We see that they bring this young nurse in to take care of him. He has no relations with her. He is an honorable man, full of integrity. Although that's not always been the case. But as we get older, we get more integrity, and let's hope. Authority and justice is prevalent in this because as David gets old, he kind of lets things go. And at this point in history, when we see this story, we don't even know who's running the kingdom. David isn't even getting people reporting back to him what's going on in the kingdom. So as far as the civil government goes, it's up in the air. We don't know who's running it. There's chaos. So one of David's sons decides, hey, I'm just going to be king. And so there's this whole thing of, well, will this son be king, or will Solomon be king? And David has to step back up to the plate, gird up his loins, as the Bible would say, and take care of business. As men and women in positions of authority, we've got to recognize that in government, that if government is lax and doesn't do its job, chaos will take over. I mean, it's Genesis chapter 4, I wrote it down here, 4 verse 7 says, sin is crouching at the door waiting to pounce. It's that way in our civil government. If our government's not doing its job and kind of lets things lax, sin is right there ready to boom, rebellion, chaos. Satan will insert these every chance he gets. So as a cop, as a deputy sheriff, as a federal agent, as a constable, as a special police officer, we've got to recognize that even though things around us may not be looking good, people may be hating police, people may be hating the government, we still have to do our jobs, because things could get a lot worse. If we let our guard down and we just let things go, don't enforce any of the rules, it will get worse, and chaos will come in. And what does chaos hate? It hates us. It hates the authority. So if we let our guard down, we're the ones who will pay first. The rest of civilization will pay later. So we've got to keep that in mind. It's a good lesson today. Then in 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 5, David makes Solomon king, and he's kind of turning over the reins of the kingdom to Solomon. And this goes really well with this lesson of having authority and doing your job. So David tells Solomon, hey, Solomon, your kingdom needs to start off fresh. New sheet of paper. You don't need to be carrying, none of my baggage needs to carry over into what you have to deal with. So part of my baggage is Joab. Joab has been the commander of the army for a long time. He's murdered, not killed as in war, but actually murdered 2 individuals who were going to take his place as leaders of Israel's army. And David allowed this to happen, and he allowed Joab to kill him and remain in his position of authority and leadership. But David says, do not let this continue in your reign. Take care of him. And David says this, speaking of Joab, he also shed the blood of war in peace. And he put the blood of war on his belt, about his waist, and on his sandals, on his feet. Now, the description of the blood and where he placed it made me think immediately. My mind went to Ephesians chapter 6, where it talks about the armor of God. And so we're looking at this belt that he's just put blood he smeared blood all over his belt and all over his shoes. Well, in the armor of God, in the description, verse 14, the belt stands for truth. And if he is smearing blood, innocent blood all over his belt, he's disregarding truth. When he smears it all over his sandals and his feet, those are shoes of peace according to the armor of God, which makes perfect sense. David says he shed blood, the blood of war, in times of peace. David will go on to say, do not let his gray hair go down to Sheol in peace. David's telling his son Solomon, you got to take Job out. He's not a man of peace. He's a man that just has this blood lust. If the war's not going on and he can't kill people, he's going to murder people that are a threat to him personally. So he takes out this man of war so he can have a kingdom of peace. But we as leaders, and every street cop is a leader, you have to maintain justice, God's justice, and you have to keep the peace. We're peacemakers, right? We're peacekeepers. We're peace officers. So let's be men and women of peace, but let's keep our eyes open and be vigilant. So you guys be safe. See you tomorrow where we're going to get into 1 Kings chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 13 and read through chapter 3, verse 28. And then we're going to jump back into 2 Chronicles or jump into 2 Chronicles for the first time, and we're going to read from chapter 1, verse 1 to verse 13. We're not going to read the whole chapter. So come back tomorrow, read up, and let's do this again. You guys be safe.